Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian bringing you another building for our Call of Cthulhu project. Now you know our Call of Cthulhu project is set mostly in America at this moment in time, in the mid-1600s or early 1600s, because that's when we're setting it, because some of the Cthulhu stories are set in that period, and in the books a lot of stuff is referred back to for things that took place during this period. So we thought it'd be interesting to see what it would be like playing a Call of Cthulhu / Acton Cthulhu game set in that period. Now this is a town building which will be for the town of Innsmouth when we finally get around to finishing it. But this is the first building I actually built for this project, so I thought it would be useful to do a video on it. This is the exterior. We have this is a Smith's, in case you guessed. Just got a nice little forge going on there, a well for water, spinning round, a boat that's not been very well looked after, or maybe it is, maybe it carries on that way, and it's all kind of overgrown and a little bit messy. Really, so this is for the slightly later period of Innsmouth. So we can still use it in ours. In the very early days of Innsmouth, Innsmouth was a thriving port. It did fall on hard times, but a chap called Captain Elijah Obeck, he got himself entangled with South Sea Islanders and began to... he got a idol which could be used to summon fishmen. Off the coast in a place called Devil Reef, which is off the coast of Massachusetts, and he was able to get the fishmen to bring him shiny golden things that he could sell, and that's how he made his money, and that's how Innsmouth made its name. It also was a very influential fishing port because of the amount of fish the fishmen were able to bring in, so it's a symbiotic relationship. Of course, what the fishermen got in return, they got to breed with humans and begin to slowly change the population of Innsmouth into fishmen. Now, the crown, remember, Britain was the ruling power in America at the time. The crown was trying to stamp out the fishmen. And I will get to that story in a minute, and I'll show you the interior first. So, inside we have a normal kind of setup. There's not a huge amount of room inside. There's certainly enough room to place your figures. There is always a problem because our character figures are on slightly larger bases. So these are the normal bases that the soldiers are based on. The other figures are on slightly slightly bigger bases, and of course monsters and things, if they ever get inside the house, they would only just fit. But this is the house, and we have a nice open hearth in the middle for cooking on, which was common at the time. We appear to have a table set for several people, including a fish, because of course it's Innsmouth, some bread and some tomatoes or red apples, and someone's been reading a book, so that's nice. I always go in for books in these buildings. Then we have the bedroom. Unfortunately, one guy appears to have come to a rather sticky end. He's there in bed, if you can see him, just there. He's not feeling very well. He's got a little bucket next to him, and he appears to be throwing up. Don't know what's wrong with him. But yeah, it gives a little action to the building. Anyway, as I was saying, the crown was all for crushing the cult, the fishman cult, and various other cults. The crown worked very hard to try and suppress them because they did cause trouble among the colonies. And that's probably the reason that Innsmouth decided to side with what the Americans call the Patriots, or the Patriots, which is a funny way of terming them, considering that surely the people backing the crown would have been the Patriots, because they were the ones backing the crown. But for some reason the Americans called them Patriots. It's the other way around. But anyway, we'll call them Patriots for now. Innsmouth decided to back the Patriots, and of course the web-footed battalion of the webbed-footed regiment saw lots of service in the war and helped the Americans win the American Revolution, which is good for them. Luckily for us in our game, it hasn't taken place yet. We're still actually in the Civil War, pre-revolutionary days. So at this moment, Louisiana is still French, and we've been doing a lot of stuff, missions in France as well, in the French Louisiana, and so it gives us a different world to work in. Not a world we're used to, but a world where the Louisianans still speak French. In fact, 2 of our characters are French, and we are English characters operating in this world where we have early colonies. The whole of America hasn't been found yet, really. I think this is before Lewis and Clark, so pretty much America ends in the Black Hills, and apparently there's land beyond, and we're not really aware of what's there. The web-footed regiment fought along the side of the rebels, and probably due to this is a supposition, it's probably that's why the New Americas didn't suppress Innsmouth. Innsmouth was allowed to carry on more or less as it was. It had supplied troops for the war. It did supply troops for the Civil War, which was quite a few years later, and fought for the Union side in this case. And of course the Ghouls fought for the Confederacy, so take your pick. Mythos takes both sides in wars. That's probably the reason Innsmouth wasn't suppressed a lot earlier, and people didn't really look into it. So they allowed the Innsmouth problem to go on. Of course, right up until 1922 was the naval raid on Innsmouth, where they depth charged the Devil's Reef, and they rounded up the entire population of more or less the entire population of Innsmouth and put them in camps. Read that up. And yeah, so that's basically what happened with the Innsmouthians. But at this period of history, Innsmouth is still a thriving port. It's got a large amount of gold coming in, usually in the form of jewellery, which Captain Obert, who is still alive, believe it or not, is melting down and selling. So he has a large goldsmith's, a gold plant that is shipping gold, and a very large fishing fleet which brings in a lot of money. Of course, Obert did use his ships as privateers during the War of Queen Anne, which is not far away from the period we're playing in. So they would have served alongside the British sailors, and because we're on the same side then, and later on they would side with the rebels. But Innsmouth was a pretty rich town, probably a place to go if you're a young adventurer, and it's certainly bustling with lots of foreigners and stuff in, lots of cargo coming in from all over the world. So living in Massachusetts at this particular time would have been a great time to live in the mythos of Call of Cthulhu. You got lots of stuff going on, lots of adventures you can get involved in. Now there was a rebellion in Innsmouth, which you will well know about, which is where Captain Obert was, Slakeman Mallory tried to oust Obert, actually arrested Obert, put him in prison, and arrested the cultists. Unfortunately, the fishmen rose up out of Devil's Reef, and there was a battle, and the fishmen won. No one saw Mallory again, and the rest of the selectmen and the militia who helped him were presumably eliminated, which is a big shame, really. Maybe we'll find out what happened. Maybe we'll actually still be in the Americas by then to find out what's going on. But at this particular moment in time, Obert would be a very young man, and all that stuff will just be starting. It will just be the beginning. So we're not quite at the level of the Webfoot Regiment. So we're not at the level where Innsmouthian fishmen are able to support Washington's army and do very good work for Washington, according to the mythos anyway. We have quite a few pages on that's Innsmouth going down there. I would assume that's Mallory and his men. Didn't work out for them. It's a real shame. But We will do more on that later, and you'll see a lot more of what we're doing. So we're going to be building the whole town of Innsmouth, which will cover a 8 foot by 4 foot table. And we're doing a lot of work. This is the first official Innsmouthian building, although the tower that we showed you the other day is also part of the Innsmouth collection, and that will go on the harbour when the harbour's built. And we have all of it planned out, and we know where everything's going to go. We've got maps of Innsmouth, and we're going to have it so we can actually play a game through Innsmouth with the fishmen in and everything during this period. So you might even see guys in triangle hats walking around at some point. We can only hope. But at this moment we're using them for scenery for our Cthulu game. And it doesn't have to be Innsmouth, it's just a generic house. So there you go. That's the house and a little bit of the background into what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I hope you vaguely enjoyed the video. Let's just stick the roof back on. You may notice the... Oh, I'll just adjust the camera and show you this. This is a tip to model builders. Buildings bend, roofs bend, especially when they're made out of card. These are made out of card to keep the costs down. And at the time I built it, we couldn't get hold of any other materials. So this is entirely made out of card, and so it has these at both ends which stop it from bending. In fact, if you look, it's tried to, just there. It's just had a go at bending there. But that should stay stable forever now. That's pretty much stable. And I have this in order to secure it. So when it's in storage, the roof is nicely fastened and very secure, can't get damaged. And that's just a note to model makers. It's a nice solid roof, it doesn't come off, and you can put it in storage, you can stack other buildings on top of it, and you can't actually damage it because it's only card, you're not even going to scratch the paint. So you can stack them up, stick them in a box, and they're absolutely fine. All this is covered in milliput, all this here, so that is very hard to damage. So if you're just storing them nicely, it won't get damaged. So that's it. That's the video. Leave any likes in the like section, or the like button, if you thought the video was good. Leave any comments in the comment section, and that's about it. I do look forward to your comments. You seem to be enjoying the new buildings we're building. We'll show you some of the figures later as well. And we'll do some games as well. May as well set it up and do games and you can watch us play. So this has been Imperator Vespasian. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video, and goodbye.